Welcome to the Palm Bay Report. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator, and I'm joined today by former Deputy Chief of the Palm Bay Police Department, Lance Fisher, and also Ruth Kofold, who is, your titles are numerous. It would be endless to be able to name them. But we want to talk about what's going on in Palm Bay. And first up, Lance, we have Frank Tobar, who died of COVID almost 4 years ago. He's just now being able to get the respect that he deserved from the city.
Yes, sir. Yeah. The mayor did a phenomenal thing. He updated the Sacrifice Park, and it's a beautiful memorial now for our first responders that died in the line of duty. So Frank Tobar passed 4 years ago on August the 20th, and we had a little memorial inside the police department, but he was never honored at Sacrifice Park. And it was interesting because the city refused to acknowledge him as in the line of duty death, even though
Sacrifice Park is only in the line of duty.
That's what's there. There are a couple other plaques on there that are not in the line of duty, but even right out of the gate, the city refused to acknowledge it was in the line of duty death. It happened during COVID, and he succumbed to COVID. He's been honored at the county level, at the state level, and at the national level immediately for in the line of duty death. So it was good to see that his name was finally placed on the wall there in his own city that he sacrificed for. The interesting part was we had different speakers. The mayor spoke and the chief of jail spoke, but neither of them still acknowledged it was in line of duty death. They acknowledged his sacrifice and all the good that Frank did with the Explorers program and all the people that he touched throughout his career, but they didn't specifically say in the line of duty. But it was interesting that Chief Nelson Moya, who's now with Gainesville PD, and who was the chief when Frank passed, and from day one acknowledged it in the line of duty death and fought hard to get Frank the benefits for in the line of duty. In his speech, he acknowledged it was in the line of duty.
Why does, a question comes to my mind, and I'm sure people are thinking about this, why would they not do this?
Well, remember, our city fights every employee for workman's comp, every employee. Our city attorney, Patricia Smith, they fought me tooth and nail for my benefits. I think that's just the city mentality. Save money here and there, right?
So
We'll spend it all kind. We'll spend it all over the way, right? We'll let police staff drive all over the place in their staff vehicles, but then they want to try to pinch pennies when it comes to the sacrifices of the employees. And so Senator Mayfield had a representative there as well, and they talked about in the line of duty. So I thought it was interesting that two speakers spoke about Frank passing the line of duty, and on the other hand, two didn't. But what was more interesting, on Thursday, they did a legislative priorities. And so one of the things that was mentioned was honoring Frank Tobar by doing a memorial out at the range. So they're trying to get money out at the range, and they're trying to get it as a legislative priority. And one way to do that is they're going to attach Frank's name to it. So they want to use his name to get $1.5 million, but yet they don't want to even simply acknowledge that he was in the line of duty death because they've never paid his family any of the benefits for in the line of duty death. So
the sad part about that is his family. So his wife has suffered through this over the last 4 years, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
why do you take someone through this? A woman lost her husband, and this guy's dedicated to the city. How long was he on the force?
He worked for the city for over 20 years. He worked for fleet maintenance for a while, working on the police cars. And then he turns over and he works for the police department as an officer, and he ran our Explorers program. So there are so many people at that agency that Frank taught through the Explorers program. Deputy Chief Spears was an Explorer, right? And so Frank touched so many people, and there was such a huge showing that day, which was awesome. It just baffles me that you don't want to acknowledge him in one way, right, as in line of duty death, or give his family those benefits, but yet you want to put his name on legislative memo to get money for the city. And I just thought that was, and I don't even know if they even talked to the family and about honoring him at the range. And I thought that was a little bit disheartening as well. I thought you should have at least had a conversation with his family before you want to throw his name on on a legislative article just to get money.
That's not a good look. It's just not a good look.
But I am glad, and to stay positive, I'm super glad he was finally honored at Sacrifice Park. I'm super glad that the mayor was able to put that together. It's a beautiful memorial to those that have lost their lives in the line of duty. So I am grateful for that because we fought hard for that.
Staying with Palm Bay Police, so we still have the guy. You made some explosive points at the city council meeting last Thursday, right? So, in lieu of the facts, should not the city, once they heard that information, have said, yikes, what's going on here? What are we doing? Ruth, tell me where this
If
is
I'm
wrong.
watching a video where a police officer is elbowing and hitting a woman, first of all, that is a coward right there. You do not do such
A pregnant woman.
right, a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sorry if she's calling you names or whatever, but here I view that if you're going to be a police officer, yes, somebody's out of hand, but no, you know that you can overcome her. Why? Okay? You can cuff her, you can do whatever you need to do. There isn't any reason for the hitting. There isn't
you
any
surprised?
reason for the abuse right there. You can't tell me that was justified.
So
She
all
was,
of this,
she was handcuffed.
At that time too,
She was
right?
handcuffed.
And I didn't see all of it, you
as he
know.
forearmed her and did the other things,
Oh,
she
yeah,
was handcuffed.
She was handcuffed.
So the threat level was down, right? If you would have said that there was a threat
There
level.
was no threat level.
Okay, so Ruth, in light of this, why was there deafening silence from the city council about this?
Because they got a bromance going on up there. I'm going to tell you. I am so disappointed in all of them. This city council meeting especially, you know, they had an opportunity to reduce the optics. This thing with the police officers, this is happening more and more. Osceola County had an officer that was taken down too this past week. I don't know if you saw that. So I'm like, what's going on? So now everybody is okay with we're getting rid of defund the police, but now people are getting a big head.
But they've gone the other
Others are,
direction now,
yeah, that's what
to
I'm
where
saying.
it's just-
They've gone a total
it's just-
180, and I'm like,
Right.
hey, y'all need to stop. Okay, first of all, there still ain't enough of you. There ain't enough of y'all police officers. So it sounds like to me the vetting process has failed. Because if someone is somewhere else and they get taken down for the same reason and you hire them,
Don't they have some liabilities, Lance, on this? I mean,
They-
they know
There's a
they now
lot.
know that this guy was fired in South Carolina, and so okay, you say, well, we didn't know. Just to say that you didn't know, but now you know, and yet nothing has happened.
Well,
Right.
you have a hiring problem, right? Negligent hiring and negligent retention. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, we have a recruiter team that's all they had to do. Google. That's what I did. Google. Seriously.
I know, right?
I mean,
Google's
that's not
better,
tough.
better and cheaper than a background check.
This person's been doing this for 20 years, which I've always said that people stay in positions way too long. I think that you have to change people out because they become complacent. But she stayed in that position. Why? Because she's married to a commander. So she gets
Yeah.
those privileges, right? She's been married to a commander. It's what's weird about Kimberly Waters. That's the recruiter. She was in the position, and then they civilianized it. So she resigned and became a civilian, and then like 6 months or a year later, they made it sworn. So then she becomes back to law enforcement, and she stays in that position the entire time. So she's a police officer, then a civilian, and then a police officer again, and never leaves that position.
That's really a problem, and then you get this insider going back and forth, covering for each other because you know each other, and it just becomes.
They're not being evaluated on merit. The entire staff of Palm Bay gets a raise, no matter what.
Wow.
There is no merit. There is no evaluation. Well, since we have an election coming up in 26, let's look at all of our city council members and see what promises made and if they kept any.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because we're going to see that there were some promises that hasn't
I'm
been
not
kept.
seeing
But
them.
before we move into that, let's
Yeah.
look at this recommendation, and we're going to come back to that. We're not going to let this story go because that's a huge thing.
It's a big deal.
I thought it was explosive. The presentation you gave, and there were crickets. Nothing.
The only thing I heard was
Nothing from the city council at all.
your
They didn't
next
even say anything
speaker.
after it.
All they said was next speaker.
Yeah.
These were explosive allegations, or
Mm-hmm.
and, well, you brought the receipts. The picture speaks for itself.
Yeah.
But
You can't make that up.
but I
And
guarantee-
it's public
Record.
information.
Right.
But remember, I've sat at the table with Chief of Jello, with that command staff, and we've justified them. we always justify
But
them.
how do you justify it? And what is the basis of the justification?
On this
Is
one?
it because you start looking at the record and say, because that's a huge one, right?
Oh, yeah,
this
right.
person has a record, so it's justifiable.
Yeah.
And that's what the police trot out. And in each case, you have to look at what is right.
Yeah,
Right? And it doesn't matter what happened with the person. So now, do I have a constitutional right to abuse someone because they have a record?
Yeah, I don't
Is that
see
the
how you
question?
justify this. In my opinion, this should have went to the state attorney's office.
Oh,
If you have a
absolutely.
handcuffed
First
female
day.
who's screaming, "I'm hurt, I'm in pain."
The state attorney's office in Brevard.
No, I get it, but I get it. But you know, to me, it's baffling that you can allow an officer to strike a female in the face, anybody in the face when they're handcuffed. Your threat level, and you know, and I talked about our duty to intervene policy. There are other officers on scene, and not one of them come over there to even help them. They're
Why-
one's just standing there, right? And
Why are you not getting that guy off her?
well, that or even helping him.
Is there intimidation factor? in that?
Absolutely.
I mean, were they
Absolutely.
intimidated by this guy? Is this guy a cowboy? And they say, "Oh, okay, I'm not going to mess with him."
Yeah, I mean, he literally, this guy.
See, I would have stunned him.
He's in the middle of an intersection directing traffic with a supervisor, and he tells and the supervisor's like, "Hey, stop letting these cars come forward." And he's like, "If you don't like the way I'm doing it, then do it yourself," and walks off the intersection.
Wow.
And we literally sat down. We were talking about terminating this guy because he had an attitude problem, and you know,
Wow.
and then I talk about how the chief of Jello in a because we waived his experience pay when he didn't fulfill his obligation. He went to leave the agency. The chief wrote this memo talking about how great of an officer he was and waived $5,000 of our taxpayer money. Again, we hired him with $10,000 when we cited an agency he was fired from an agency he was fired from. It's crazy to me.
It's hard to even make this up. It's hard to believe this is actually happening.
Yeah.
That a competent police department cannot know that a guy was fired at his previous location. You hire him. You give him a $10,000 bonus. You actually reward him.
Yeah.
He leaves, and then you didn't do anything about the fact that he broke his contract,
Yeah.
right? Then he comes back. Is that right?
Yeah.
And now you're going to pay him more?
Yeah, exactly. So, and you know, he's on probation. So literally all they have to say is your services are no longer needed. That's all they have to say.
Crickets from Palm Bay. Crickets.
Well,
Nothing. The presentation that you gave, there should have actually, from the city council, been a disgust
I'm
at this.
not done. So they better do something.
But you know what it is? I think it's this, Lance. I think that they reasoned, oh, these are just criminals. So it's justifiable.
Absolutely.
Anything you do to them, it's
Well,
justifiable.
okay,
Absolutely.
here's the thing. How do they know they're criminals?
Well,
That's what I want to know.
Now-
If she's already handcuffed for a reason, okay, you don't get to determine whether or not she's a criminal. People are innocent before proven guilty, okay? They're innocent. You have to put her in the car. Just put her in the car and shut up.
and this all started with a flock camera, caught on the flock camera.
Yep.
Right.
They
And
got
so
the officers get a notification that the car went through a flock camera and the
And it was-
registered owner didn't have a license.
no understanding of who was driving.
Nope.
They're
Right.
just looking at the car.
That's it.
Okay. So
Yep.
there you have it. Recommendations of broadcasting public comment. It passes 3-2. Doesn't really matter if they put it back in. Somehow, Brevard News, we're going to be down there covering that. But they did decide that they're going to put it back in, right? Say they recommended
Reconsideration
to vote on it
to
again,
reinstate.
to reinstate.
Okay.
So they have to, the process is
the
what?
three
now?
acres are happening out there.
What's the process now? They have to.
Well, that's the way I heard the city attorney say. Well, it's Mayor, you're right, and Deputy Mayor, you're right. Deputy Mayor Jaffe doesn't want the citizens to speak, and his justification was proven wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where he did not do his due diligence. He didn't do his research. FPL and the communications FTC does not have jurisdiction over YouTube.
At every turn, Jaffe has shown himself to be against citizens.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Oh yeah. This is called a tyrant.
Yeah.
It violates the Declaration. So here's where I'm having a problem with him violating the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution that he swore an oath to uphold. So, should I go get the Burger King and get him a crown?
What were you thinking when you saw this?
You can't make it up.
He has systematically since January 25th, I think.
Yeah,
So the first thing he does is in January, he wiped out public comments on consent agenda items. He took out the last 3 minutes that we were allowed to speak because you used to be able to, you would go and speak one time. you get all the rebuttal, right? Like when I got berated for 12 minutes after my public on July 3rd, I got berated for 12 minutes. It would have been nice to come back with my last 3 minutes and be like, hey guys, you need to calm down, right? And what I'm saying is true and factual. I don't make any of this stuff up, but he's systematic. So he did it in January. He did it back in May. He again brought another resolution
There
to
we
the
go.
table. Ruth will tell you about it.
So what is that resolution?
Now, see, this is there. He's systematically going through the ordinances in the city charter. So it looks like I don't know. That was not part of his campaign promises.
Well, he
I
said
can
in
tell
his
you.
campaign that he budget, infrastructure, and business.
Yes, yeah, bringing businesses to here. So, because he's an expert in business, you can ask him; he'll tell you. So, this is a time limits. Palm Bay ordinances, legislative, public hearings. Time limits is hereby amended and shall be read as follows for public hearings involving items being heard by the City Council pursuant to the Land Development Code. So if something's going on with the Land Development Code, the applicant wants to change something with the Land Development Code, right? So he has 30 minutes to speak. The staff has a presentation. They've looked at this applicant and his application. They have 30 minutes to speak on it. Then this is how it is right now. Then the aggrieved or adversely affected party of this application, so like in my case where Centerpoint Church is wanting to put houses on 13 acres and thus send our neighborhood into crazy. So, they get 30 minutes. The public comment, 3 minutes per person. The applicant's rebuttal. So he hears all of this that's happening on his application and he gets to explain it for 10 minutes. So what Jaffe has proposed is that the new time limits be applicable. The applicant's presentation, 30 minutes. The staff's presentation, 30 minutes. And the public comment, 3 minutes. That's it. He takes out the total part where it says aggrieved or adversely affected party. So if you're going to put something in Palm Bay next to me, I'm an aggrieved party. I don't get to speak now.
No, you don't.
Oh yeah,
Just
and then
just be quiet
just
and
shut
go
up.
away.
Yeah, that's it. So I don't remember him saying in his campaign speech that says anything about cleaning up the ordinance of the city. Like President Trump, he says, well, if we're going to put a law in the books, we're going to get rid of 5. I didn't hear that.
We talked about it before, and I saw this guy at the Constitution dinner last year. He and Langevin. It'll be interesting. I'm going to go this weekend. Who will we see at the Constitution dinner? Because so many of these people who say that they follow the Constitution do so many unconstitutional things. Stokel up here in Titusville.
Oh, yeah.
These two down in Palm Bay. It's a joke.
It is a joke.
It's an absolute joke. That
Because-
it's just lip service that they're giving to the Constitution.
Right. And I don't disagree that city government shouldn't be run like a business. Okay, I totally love that. I said if you run
I would
a
disagree with
church
that. I just
and a
think it's-
business and stuff like that, they should be running it like a business so that you have accountability. See, this is where I want accountability and transformation and transparency. So I am a business person all the time. So if you have things you're going on, you want to sit here and say to me, well, I know everything there's about a budget, so I don't need your input. And I'm like, excuse me, what? I am the citizen.
But we have to have a debate on that because
Yeah.
I think that the managerial form of government sets that mindset up.
Well,
Because all you've done is you've created a bureaucracy.
right.
There's
I mean,
no
I
accountability,
disagree
there's
with the
nobody-
managerial.
Right.
I don't agree. I want them to act like a legislature.
Okay, I understand
so
that.
that's what I want. Is them. That's why I want to say to Jaffe, you're already violating the Constitution with your silencing of citizens, because that's 250 years ago what King George did.
Right,
You
right.
are a tyrant.
It would be like you inviting me into your house to run your house for you because you are got other things you're doing, and then I turn on you and start telling you how you're going to act in your own house.
Right. Oh no,
Right?
that's
Begin
what
to
King
limit-
George. Well, King George did it. That was the quartering of troops. The quartering of troops came along and said, "Hey, we're going to stay with you guys for a while, so move out." Excuse me, what? No.
It's the craziest thing, but the citizens allow it to be so.
Well,
At
and
any
see,
moment that
this
the
is where.
citizens get tired of this.
So this is where I want to make sure that citizens understand Don't sit there and throw a brick at your TV. Get up out the chair and come down to the city hall.
That's the only
Write
thing
an
they're scared
email.
of.
See, I don't know that they're scared. They might be just lazy, or
I,
they
I
don't
think,
think
I think that
anything's going to happen.
no, I think that the politicians are scared of that.
Oh, yes.
They know that if the citizens at any given point in time say, this is, okay, we're done with this, and that there's a movement against it, they know they're cooked.
Well, one of the ladies that came to our open forum at Salt Light with the city manager, the chief, and the deputy chief. Okay, so we had a meeting with city leaders. One of the ladies there, I said, I use you an example in my classes all the time. She saw something going on at the city council meeting when she was watching it. Okay, and she wanted to say something, so she got her little tail on down to city council and said her piece. Had she not known what was going on and watching it. So this is unbelievable how they will not understand that we, the people, are your boss.
But it is the people have to assert that.
Yes.
And until the people assert that,
Right.
they're not going to respond.
No,
I mean,
no.
it's like being in a bad relationship, right? You know,
Right.
where you've, I mean, it's almost like an abusive relationship.
It
right?
is an abuse, because
Where
it's
the
kind of
person,
like, well, nothing's going to happen anyway, so why should I say anything? It's kind of like unreported crime.
you said Salt and Light, and
Yeah.
there was a meeting. And so, what was the point of this Salt and Light meeting? And are you surprised that they actually showed up?
They wanted to show up, okay? This is the city manager. He's wanting to talk to everybody. I mean, he's having a coffee with the manager. He's having all kinds of meetings with the citizens right now. So that's encouraging. But Salt and Light Council takes the biblical citizenship classes to the next level and says, here's your government in action. Please participate now that you understand how to participate. I really don't think our citizens know how. We want solutions. We want Salt and Light to encourage citizens to bring their solutions.
So you had the manager there, city manager. You had the current chief, the
Right,
police,
and the deputy
and the
chief.
deputy chief.
Right, because he'll
And-
be chief next year.
And who else was there?
The Salt and Light citizens.
Okay.
The citizens
Okay,
from
so
Salt and Light.
Did you get what you were looking for from the manager, the chief, and the deputy chief?
Pretty much what I expected. Yes, I
Which
would
is what
be
did you-
getting. One of the questions was about the commission.
Okay.
So I had been asking the clerk for, what's the start date? What are we going to do? And they sent us 3 meeting dates a week before they wanted us there. And I'm like, you don't call me a month ahead. My calendar's a little full. So we were, all 10 of us were not able to, agree on the 3 dates that she gave us. So now our fault that we're not meeting. But I'm looking at him going, you're the one who said you wanted a consultant to oversee us. So I haven't received an email that says the consultant is here, even though the city manager says, oh, we're good with that. It's just the commissioners that aren't on board. I'm like, excuse me?
So
Really? And I wasn't going to go down that. I didn't take the bait on that one. I just smiled, went on. It wasn't important enough for me to argue with the city manager in front of everybody. So I was like, no. You might want to talk to the clerk and find out what's really going on.
So is this a game or just a mistake?
I think it's just a miscommunication is what I think it is.
Okay.
When you're trying to wrangle 10 people together, you need to give them enough courtesy timeline. They could have been having us have this meeting before this person shows up. Okay.
You guys should have been almost finished by now, right?
Oh, no. This is supposed to finish in June. So we have to finish in June so that the supervisor of elections can
Get it on the ballot.
get it on the ballot.
Okay.
So every minute they waste doing this miscommunication is us not having enough time to do what we want to do. Because I can tell you, forget Jaffe, him and his little tricks here with the voices. I have 5 amendments to the ordinances that I want to do right out of the gate. I don't know about the other commissioners, but I talked to my people. I said, hey, what is it you want? You tell me, I will write it up and we'll talk about it at the commission meeting if we ever get there.
$9.3 million road paving contract put on hold. What's happening with that? So you guys have both checked into that. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, the money was already allocated, right?
It's part of the Go
I
Roads
thought-
bond.
So what happened?
Well, they previously talked about putting projects on hold that haven't started yet. I think it's the fiscal accountability that they're going for, making sure they got a new city manager, new public works guy. So I think they're trying to make sure that before they move forward, that everybody has the knowledge and the history. But it sounds like this one has already been paid for. This one's ready to roll. They've already bid it out. There was 3 contractors that put in for the bid, and they've awarded it already. And so now out of the blue, now they don't want to move forward. And from what I heard, these are some of the worst roads in Palm Bay. They're up in the Lockmar area from what I saw in area 44, whatever you call it. But
It's like Northwest.
you're right.
Northwest and Southwest are getting most of the attention right now. So,
Why is that?
well, that's the oldest pieces of
Okay.
Palm Bay right now. What I heard was that we don't have qualified vendors to do this work.
That's what it
So
kind
they
of came
keep
down to.
awarding it to the same people. So I agree with that. I agree with the fact that why would we award stuff to the same people? Because I don't know who was talking. It wasn't the new public works director. He was saying, whoever the contracts director is, he was saying we didn't have enough bids to have a real competitive bid. So if we keep awarding it to the same people, we're going to get looked at.
So this is legitimate.
I think it is a legitimate thing, except for Mr. Langevin wanted to say something about it in between meetings. And he wanted to say, hey, let's use this money to go over here and do something. I'm like, no. Yeah, see, I don't want them doing that. I'm saying these bonds have specific instructions of how the money is supposed to be used. You don't get to come up in here and say, we got some money, let's go do it over here. No. That's not how this works. So you might want to do your own due diligence and might want to check with staff about the actual wording of the Go Roads bond. Now, they obviously don't know really what the truth is.
So my only concern here is though they've kind of already bid it out, right? So you have people that are thinking that they're going to get some new roads, and they're not going to, and there's no plan in place. So they didn't come with like a solution, like okay, we won't do it today, but we're going to do it. No, they were talking about how it's going to cost more money, and I think it was the widening of Malabar Road. That's what he wanted to use.
Right.
That, and they're like the road bond was never made about widening or improving roads. It was about putting roads where they don't exist and,
Right.
and improving them. So
Yeah.
so that's my only thing is like, and I think the part of it is when this was all this $150 million road bond. I think one of the ideas was make it, because the problem is they're piecemealing this out, and so your companies aren't going to travel. They talked about mobilization costs, so that's some of your higher costs. So a lot of your bigger companies, they're not going to travel from the East Coast or from the West Coast over because they're just really small projects. It's not financially beneficial.
Cost ineffective.
So that's what they're talking about is you got to put bigger projects together and get more, because they're talking about, the same 3 people keep bidding on these over and over, and how all of them kind of know what to bid because all the bids were so close to each other. So they figured out the whole bidding process. And so that's my only concern is that there's no plan for
The
for these
vendors
folks.
are using the system and abusing it
Yeah.
too.
But
The current vendors is what I heard too.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like,
But
you're
they
gonna
knew
tell
this.
me.
They knew this though before they bidded this out, and they went ahead and bidded it. It seems to me you need to go ahead and as far as this contract,
Move forward
and then
with
fix it on the
and
next
fix
one.
it on the other side.
yeah.
because
Yeah.
You have an issue with, again, the thing that strikes me is the issue with the public trust.
Yeah.
Once you lose the public trust, and maybe that's what they're trying to do,
And that's what
you
the
end up
public
with
is
a lot
frustrated.
Of cynicism, right?
Right.
To where they just don't trust you at all.
And I think what was I found this to be the most interesting thing is that, so when this came up for motion, Langevin motioned to approve it with the mayor, I believe, or maybe with Hammer, but he voted to he put the motion in to approve it. Jaffe said maybe 30 words, and then when it came to vote, Langevin voted it down. And the mayor was as shocked as the rest of us, like,
Wait.
wait a minute, you motioned to approve this. Like, oh yeah, deputy mayor made some good points. And I'm like, man, can you guys not break?
There's where the bromance
Can
is
you
right
not
there.
just one time?
Yeah, baby.
I was like, what? This is crazy to me.
A couple of more things. You got the pregnant mother that we talked about, Miss Hatcher. She's now in jail.
Yeah. Once
because
this came
of-
public, they revoked her bond for a previous case. Once it started hurting the perception, they did what they always do. They
Is it
penalized.
retribution?
Yeah, it's retaliation, but we don't. I have an email that says the city doesn't retaliate, but absolutely. How do you best quiet her? Put her back in jail. So they revoked her bond. She has a bond hearing coming up this week. And here's the most frustrating part for me, is that I've reached out to organizations One of them is I've reached out to the South Brevard NAACP, right? I mean, because you have an officer that's preying on black citizens. South Carolina saw it. 7 out of the 8 incidents that he was involved with there in that 5-month period was against black citizens, particularly handcuffed females, ironically. And so I reached out to them, but I've mentioned this before, I don't think publicly, but the president of the South Brevard NAACP is Rodney Edwards. He's also the deputy city attorney for the city of Palm Bay.
Conflict is there, you know.
But at the end of the day, these organizations that say that they protect citizens, it's not going to ever supplement the citizens fighting for their own
No.
constitutional rights, right?
Right.
Some of these these organizations can be leveraged, and many of them have been leveraged. Be either through you can even see it here in Titusville, right? You have these groups that are leveraged, and now what?
But it's so easy. Look at me, right? I've been fighting now for 15, 16 months, and I was the deputy chief of the police department. And they've silenced an entire city because of me. And so to be a single voice, you know, even for Miss Hatcher, who had her son was abused that day, leg swept, driven to the ground, those charges have already been dropped. You know, she was pursued to her house, her door was kicked in, drug out of her house, choked and hit. So you would hope that organizations like the NAACP would stand alongside the citizens. Titusville, at least, your citizens have grouped together over a single cause.
Right.
We haven't had that in Palm Bay. Because
Right.
until it affects you, same thing with me. It didn't affect me, I didn't care. When it affected me, now I become a voice. And so it's unfortunate that single voices are not heard.
Well, and the fact is the people have lost all objectivity, and they can't look at a situation logically and reason through it to see what's right and what's wrong. And that's really a problem today. The last thing that we'll talk about at Ruth is the apartment buildings. We have this chart of all of the apartment complexes in Palm Bay. and
That's just
yet-
Palm Bay.
This is Palm Bay. It's
That's public knowledge. You go to
unbelievable.
apartments.com, you look up all the apartments on there, and I'm like, well, no wonder there's so much traffic.
And yet,
Hello?
there are more apartments being built, and
Yeah.
really, you've seen here recently a de-emphasis
Who's coming?
on home ownership.
Yeah.
The emphasis is being placed, and you wonder if some of these factors with the high electric bills and the high insurance is
Well,
to
40%
force people.
every year for electrics going up.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's happening too.
They are putting their emphasis on
Yeah.
solar
Yeah.
over and above electric energy. And what is it, 40% now they're expecting that the electric bills are going to skyrocket.
Every year. Not just
It's
one
gonna
time.
skyrocket.
It's going to be every year for the next 3 years.
There's apartment complexes here, and one of the things.
Who's coming though? So we have this problem across all of Brevard County. It's not unique.
Right here in Titusville.
It's happening all of Florida almost
Right.
even. And I'm like, who is coming? Who's coming that's going to, I get it if you have a situation where SpaceX is going to bring a bunch of, you know, business to the Space Coast, right? And he's going to bring all these workers, right? I get that. All those, I mean, if you look at all of the, and multiply that times at least 4 buildings of 80 apartments, just as an average, who's coming?
Well, I don't know if it's who's coming, it's what's coming.
Well, and
I
then
think it's more like what's coming.
Right.
And all the building of these multi-family homes all over.
right.
And the emphasis and the speed at which they want to put these up. Oh, we can't allow the cities and the counties to be able to make these decisions. We're gonna build them. We need affordable housing, is
Yeah.
what they're saying.
And what's going to happen
So,
when one good hurricane comes around here and smacks those
Oh,
ones
it's
that
right.
are made of wood?
wreak havoc to it, Lance?
Yeah, and I think the biggest issue is we talked about infrastructure. You know, one thing I did learn at the Salt Light that I wasn't aware of is that there's a fire station that's literally working out of the Publix
Out of
parking
their
lot
car,
at the
out of the truck.
at the New Heritage Parkway exit at 166. The lady asked, "I always see the firefighters there. Why can't they make their own food?" And the city manager was literally like, "They're working out of their truck. They're in their truck 10 hours a day, just sitting there in the parking lot waiting for calls for service because there's no infrastructure. So they're building all
Wow.
these houses down there."
And that was what the mayor ran on. And
Wow.
Jaffe wrote on, you know, we need more PD, we need more FD, you know, where's that? You know, and I hear, you know, Chief says, well, we're going to be getting a new station. I'm like, well, when did that happen? I want to know who approved that, because this monstrosity of a city hall is sitting over there, and they say that the top floor is going to be vacant. I'm like, excuse me?
So there's a Taj Mahal down in Palm Bay now, too.
Yeah, you betcha.
I'm going to give you the last word on this. So the
Okay.
citizens had better wake up. What would you say to the citizens about what they can do to stop this kind of tomfoolery that's going on?
Well, come up and say something.
Come up where?
Come up to the city council meetings. Come to the planning and zoning first. If something's going to be put in, come to planning and zoning. Like have to go to planning and zoning for my own situation first, because if I can get it stopped there, it doesn't go to council. You know, so I want it stopped right there, so that I don't want any more building until you fix the infrastructure.
How do you how do you find out when planning and zoning is?
They're on the first Wednesday of the month. So you just go out to the city's website, and they have a schedule. You go out to their calendar, and it shows all of them, and you could click on it and get the agenda and everything.
If I show up at planning and zoning, is that going to have an impact?
You know, it did have an impact for the Majors Golf Course. So we had a planning and zoning meeting at the high school, because everybody was coming. Because when you know about Bayside Lakes, you have this huge community all built around this one golf course. That was supposed to be one of the premier golf courses by Arnold Palmer. I mean,
So did the people showing up make a difference?
yes.
Oh yeah, because they were talking.
They shut it down.
30 and 40 people at a
She
time.
wanted to put up apartment buildings and get $350 million from a builder for that property. Well, that property cannot have occupants. It is not structurally sound. Like it's too water. It's supposed to be green space. So you could have a golf course on green space. There's nobody living on it. You know, so just like the GoDaddy golf course. I mean, that was a driving range. That property is not available for people to live on.
And there you have it, and that's the problem. And it's until you citizens decide that you are going to get engaged, that none of this will change. You can complain, you can validate. The politicians do not care about that. All they care about is you continuing to do what you're doing, which is nothing. And as long as you do that,
pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes, shut up, pay your taxes. As long as you're doing that, the corruption will continue.
Right.
And that's a wrap. Thank you, former Deputy Chief of the Palm Bay Police Department, and Ruth Kofo with Salt and Light Ministries, and a multitude of other things. Thank you for joining us for our Palm Bay Report. We'll see you next week on the Palm Bay